Now, I'd like to call upon all of the panelists that we've got. Firstly, Mr. Bill Stammel again. I'd like to call upon Mr. Ronnie Sehgal, the General Secretary of the Indian Padel Federation. Mr. Alan Healy, CEO and founder of the organization Padel India. Mr. Chaitanya Shah, professional padel player. And Mr. Hisham Al-Hashil, our CEO and founder of Space Hash Padel. Cool, so we've had a long hour of interesting speeches and insights into padel and as well as the padel scene in India. And we'd like to begin a quick panel discussion just to have more clarity. Of course, firstly, we've understood that padel is the biggest thing, right? It's the biggest sport right now. It's growing rapidly. And one of the things that we've realized is that it's becoming more like a lifestyle trend, right? So a lot more people are choosing padel as their preferred choice of sport. So I'd like to ask each one of you on the panel, why do you think that people prefer padel now over other sports, right? And what are the factors that are contributing to its sort of, becoming a worldwide lifestyle trend?
For me, the beauty of the sport, it's fairly easy to play and take up. The level of technique and increase in play is quite high to a certain level, so you can have fun. You're hitting the ball. Also, it's quite a family-related game. In our family, there was 5 of us, but basically of all the sports that the boys and I played, the only one we really played as a family was padel, because we were always close to each other and different levels of athletic abilities in our family, but we will always be able to bring that together. Paddle players, when they finish playing the sport, they don't just pack up and go home. They tend to hang out and have some fun and have some good discussion after the fact. But I think the ease of play and also the fact that it's almost very difficult to get injured in our sport, because you're not lunging, it's not a sport where you need to be a superman or superwoman to do that. So I think it's family related. It's easy to play, easy to pick up. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, I can use this. So I think Bill's covered everything. I should have been on the other side. Yeah, so we think that it's an inclusive sport. One of the big motivators for padel is, as you may be aware, it's 30-35% of the sport is played by women. And that talks a lot about the sport, that if women can take it up, you know where the men are going to go. So that's, to begin with, that's one of the points. I don't want to talk more because I'll leave a few points for others to take over.
Give your opinions as to one factor is most important.
Sure. Yeah. I think so. Padel combines all of the best aspects of other racket sports in one. As Bill said, it's easy to pick up, so it has a low entry barrier, which lots of people then get in, and it's very difficult to master, but everybody thinks they can master it, so it keeps you wanting to come back. That aspect, and also the social side of things, has played a huge role pan-India and also the rest of the world. There's 4 people on the court. Bill mentioned it during his speech. You can hear everyone, you can chat to everyone, you can have fun whilst you're playing, which is not the case with some of the other sports. And there's good bang for your buck. So as you're playing, you're getting many shots in. Whereas if you're on the golf course or something else, you're doing 5 shots every 25 minutes or so. But when you're playing padel, you're doing 25 shots every couple of minutes. So, what was you?
Yeah, I think most things have been covered already, but I think the biggest thing that I think is driving paddle and making it so popular is the lack of injury. I think a lot of people that play paddle right now have a tennis or a squash or a badminton background, and I think those sports tend to be a lot more impact on the knees, a lot more lunging and that stuff. So playing paddle has less of that, so it's a lot easier on the body. And the second thing, it's only doubles, so it's a lot more social. A lot of these sports, a lot of athletes play it individually, which has a whole different feel to it, and just playing doubles, playing with the partner is a whole different world, and it's a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for giving me a chance with this eminent panel, and I'm next to someone who I adore a lot, his play. I think for me, as I'm getting into my 50s, right, in a couple of years, 3 years now. First thing I would like to say that not being the competitive aspect of the sport, that really amazes me. And we can say a lot about socializing sport, we can say a lot of community building, but I think it's really that camaraderie, that collaboration, and that spirit of partnership. And then the fact that, I don't know, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen a single format of paddle, right? And I think it teaches us the spirit of partnership. And the second thing, as I said, I think Alan touched upon it, coming from the corporate world, I think after golf, which is treated to be a real affluent social business networking sport, this is really about socializing, community building, family sport, right? I think these are two factors. It is about, it's a sport for all. It's like, even I can go with my 5-year-old daughter, or whether I have a 70-year-old grandpa, I can go to a paddle park and enjoy, right? And for me, that's what really kept me interested with this sport.
So Chaitanya, I'd like to ask you, for those of you who don't know Chaitanya, he's actually a former professional squash player. He's 2-time junior champion, right? And of course, he's seen a lot of success in paddle. He's currently the highest ranked Indian paddle player in the world. Him and his partner Vikram Shah, of course. We should give a special shout out to him. So Chaitanya, I'd like to understand, because you came from squash, which is considered to be one of the hardest racket sports there is physically, right? And you transitioned into paddle. So what was that like? I'm quite curious about that. If you could give us an insight into that.
Yeah, I think physically very different, obviously, because squash is by and large just a single sport. So a lot more ground to cover in terms of movement, a lot of impact on the knees, which is actually why I stopped playing. I was having knee trouble at the not so old age of 24, so had to stop there. But in terms of paddle, I think the walls came a little easy to me, given that I played squash for so many years, but obviously there were a lot of adjustments that needed to be made. I think coming from tennis, you're a lot more confident and you find it a lot more comfortable hitting a lot of volleys and smashes, and that took a bit of time, but I think with some practice, I got adjusted to it.
Great. So we've touched upon, of course, the factors that make paddle an addictive sport, right? And mainly, I think what we've discussed so far is why people take it up recreationally, mostly, right? I'd like to touch upon a little bit on the comparative side of things, the comparative perspective of paddle. So interestingly, Alan, who's the CEO and founder of Padel India, he's played a pivotal role in generating excitement over the years for paddle, right? With your tournaments that I personally believe focused more on the player experience, right? And you're obviously launching the Decathlon Paddle Leagues, which would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Cheers. Yeah, so up until now, the tournaments in India have largely been 1 or 2 day weekend. You play all of the matches. Potentially in the last few months, there's been kind of back-to-back weekends, but it's largely been one-off events. What we wanted to do with the Decathlon Leagues was really focus, and at them events, I should say, where there's prize money, there's people flying in from all over. It's often a gathering of all the best players in the country, and it's someone flies in and it's a hit and run to take the prize pool. What we wanted to do was focus more on the community level at the local clubs to start building leagues for players of different levels where they could find other players to play with and have set structures and a formal way of playing matches kind of week in, week out, as opposed to relying on being asked to play or having to go and find other players to play with or whatnot. So season 1, which starts next week, we'll have 200 odd players playing. We're in the first season is in 8 different cities. We have a dozen plus leagues. So we want to start getting that community at the local level, start competing, start like midweek, weekends, whenever it is, whenever you have time, start seeing and competing, meeting new players in your local community, seeing if you can win the league, competing more regularly, more consistently, and then the winners of all 8 cities and the runners-up will compete in an all-India Padel final in Gurgaon on the 3rd of May. So it's really working at the local level. It's the beginning of something more bigger that we want to build, pan-India, but it's about kind of building the local community as opposed to having one-off events with big prize money where a lot of the best players kind of come in and compete and the local guys or the average players don't really have a chance of winning.
So, Bill, how do leagues work in other parts of the world, maybe in Canada or other countries that you've observed, and how successful have they been in promoting the sport and generating excitement and keeping the flow?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think you try and keep the things as simple as you possibly can. You need to be consistent. You need to have good organization so that one time you show up, everything works perfect, and another time you show up, you don't have balls or things. We need to create a situation where Padel has this aura about it that says, you know what, the folks involved in this sport always do this and always do that. And I think one of the best successes that I've had in my little country of Canada when it comes to Padel has been the consistency part. The other thing that I'm happy to say I'm proud of is the fact that I offer free clinics to begin with, and to the point where literally about 80-90% of the people that play in our area have come through my free clinic area. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't be charging, but I think what happens is that initially people say, I have no idea what this is all about. I'm not going to go out and try something new and get charged $100 or whatever. So we have a half an hour free clinic, and then that's where you sell the game. That's where you go in with, and you tell them that you can do this, that, the other. Many years ago, when our association was actually a lot more active than it is today, we had very good junior programs, and the way that I used to sell the junior programs is, look, ma'am or sir, you spent a lot of time and money with another sport, and but in our sport, I said, if you start playing paddle, the chances that your son or daughter can represent the flag are elevated, and even today that's the case. So all of a sudden that was the hook, and because it didn't mean that it couldn't take, there are racket sport skills and bring them to paddle, which is another thing that paddle has going for it is if you have squash, tennis, as an ex-tennis pro yourself, you can take some of that, bring it to paddle, and go from there. So that's what I would say.
So Hash, as a corporate guy yourself, I think one of the things we're starting to see is paddle, basically the corporate interest in paddle, right? There's a lot of corporate funding, there's a lot of that going on. And so as a corporate guy, based on all that you've heard about paddle and how do you see paddle influencing the corporate wellness industry? And how would it influence basically employee retention maybe, or something similar to that?
Yeah, I get the question, and I think having spent 30 years in the corporate world, and then you see after epidemic like COVID coming in, a lot of corporate houses are saying we want employee wellness more than ever, and a lot of these programs about wellness, fitness, psychology trainings, and after nothing is working. They need an addictive sport. They don't need. You don't need your HR programs to go and compel and push something which you can't build a community around. So I think the coming from the IT world, I can see a lot of the large consulting houses like Accenture, PwCs, and others, and I'm sure my good friend is already representing one of that company. Is that this is becoming a big employee retention program in the HR. There are a lot of discussions happening how good a paddle pickle community we can build around, and I'm sure that's opening new doors of getting corporate tournaments, having a lot of family union programs and whatever. And the other thing is, there are no other alternative to this kind of a program, because the other thing is all very expensive, and only on the rich and the affluent can afford. So I think in the corporate HR program, I'm starting to see a lot of discussion around these programs coming in, and I would definitely promote that. And as part of the Space Hash Vision, Bill and Ronnie and Chaitanya, everyone, that's one market we are going to focus a lot in building.
So, Ronnie, sir, I'd like to ask you, you've been involved, of course, with the Federation for many years, right? And, of course, we had a slow start to things, but now it's starting to pick up, right? So, now that we are seeing that paddle has gained that recognition, what is the next challenge that we need to address?
Yeah, so I don't see it as a challenge. As you may be aware, I'll stick to the point. We had a event last month. It's called the World Padel League. So 32 players among the top 100 in the world were in Bombay. So just to tell you a paradigm shift of what's happening and how we are overcoming challenges or things. So this event had people you see on TV, people you see on YouTube. What all of us have seen and learned the sport over the last how many ever years you're involved or months you're involved, irrelevant. But you've seen all these people on TV. You've got motivated by them. You've taken the racket, the ball, gone to a paddle court, or maybe not even a paddle court, and tried that. So we got to see these people live. India got to see them live in Nesco Center in Bombay about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So just imagine that for a moment. From nowhere to seeing the best in the world. The only thing missing there, which is getting filled now, was there were no Indians playing. Okay, so that was a challenge, and that was a good challenge because imagine us going there and not really performing. So now what is you're going to have in the next round of the league, and you get paid very handsomely. There's big bucks coming in. It's a franchised-based league, team owners. You have celebrities like, it's all there online. So the next season in August actually has Indians on each team. So every team, there are going to be 6 teams, and each team has an Indian pair on it, male this year. Of course, I'm sure they'll introduce women in the coming years. Now you imagine for a moment that you're a paddle player and you have a chance to be on Sony TV, which it was. There are sports which have been in India for very long, never been seen on TV, live TV. Padel has already done it. It's already happened. So if we are thinking that it's yet to catch up in India, it's going to happen, so those days are gone. It's already in, this is the time. So I really congratulate yourself and your team that you've actually gotten at the very right time to do this. This is where the rising tide raises all ships. So everything is growing right now, and I think more than looking at challenges, we should look at what we can do for the sport, what you can do for the sport, and just go for it. Because, like I said, it's going to be back. If you're a player, your challenge of is there something good in it for me is already answered. If you're a club owner or a promoter, is there something good in it for you? It's answered if you put up a facility, and you're going to have people come and play, because when Space Hash opened a couple of days ago, and we were there, the courts were packed. I think you should give them a big round of applause actually for the amazing work that they're doing and getting everyone excited. A beautiful facility, beautiful location, parking, name it, it's all there. So it's built a lot of heart, which you can see. So for the player, for the facility owner, third is for your sponsors, corporate sponsors, right? Very important. Without them, we don't exist. We need support. So for them, the challenge is eyeballs, footfalls, quality people, people who have spending power, whatever they're looking for. Padel provides that, because Padel is not a cheap sport. We agree that the bar is a little high, but that's fine. There is something for everybody to take in it. So these are some challenges, some solutions for challenges that we look at, because for the first 7 years there was nothing in India. 7 years, 7 courts. So that's like crazy, right? So from 7 to 9 years, it's crossed 200 courts. You have people like Alan quitting high-paying jobs, like $1 million package jobs, coming to India and going through the grind to build the sport. So I think it's all God's plan what's happening right now, and the challenges, those are gone. Now it's time you see where you fit in, what you can do, and how you want to benefit and grow with the sport. Hope that answers something.
So Chaitanya, as a paddle player yourself, what do you think about everything that you just heard? I think, of course, it's an interesting prospect. I think it'll give Indian players recognition on an international stage, right? Which now as a paddle player, I actually wanted to ask you, what would you need to be supported and in your journey to becoming a paddle superstar, which you already are. But and I wasn't expecting the answer Mr. Ronnie gave, so I'm really excited about everything that you guys have in store. It seems like the federation have been up to some great stuff, so congratulations. But Chaitanya, I'd like to hear from your perspective as a player, what do you need?
Yeah, sure. First of all, what Ronnie said is super exciting. I had absolutely no idea that there was going to be an Indian there, so I think that's huge. So congratulations and thank you to them for thinking of us. Hopefully we'll get to be a part of it. And in terms of challenges for players, I think financially it can be a bit difficult, traveling for all these tournaments, whether it's domestically or internationally. It's not cheap, and the sport is relatively new in India, and some of us have equipment sponsors, but that's pretty much about it at the moment. So I think getting any assistance with that, and I think that'll come as the sport gets bigger, and having an Indian pair in the World Padel League, which I think is happening in August, will be a step in the right direction for sure.
Alan, so Chaitanya just pointed out the funding aspect of it, right? So of course, Padel being in its early stages, what do you think, what are the creative ways that Indian players should explore to get sponsorships on this side, given Padel is becoming a global phenomenon, and it's unlike anything we've seen. So do you have any suggestions to Padel players as to what they should look for and where they should go looking for sponsorships and funding it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think even us as a company last year, I think we did somewhere close to 20 events throughout the course of the year. All of them were loss-making, but we invested and invested and invested to build the community, to try and get brand interest, to try and build our profile, to try and build player engagement. This year, all of our tournaments have been profitable. Now the tables have turned. Brands are looking at getting into this space. There's money there to be had. A&P spend is picking up. Globally, as you mentioned, there's all the big brands from Lamborghini to, you name it, all of the big Aston Martin, they're all sponsoring different paddle tournaments. So that's now slowly starting to happen in India. So our efforts are starting to pay, we're starting to bear the fruit, if you like. So that was the first turning point. That then enabled us to increase the cash prizes and the prize pool. And last year we did a Pi Play paddle series, which was the first series to be held in India, where we hosted events in 7 different cities, and then we had a Masters finals at the end of it. For that, the prize pool throughout the whole 7 events, I think, was close to $20,000. This year, it will be significantly higher. And having that and the prize pool and the winning ticket, the cash prizes and all is good, but it's only good for those who win, right? There's a lot of other people who fly in from different cities and want to compete and want to break through, but they also don't have the budget. So I think the next thing we want to do is also, as a company, is also to start sponsoring players so that we can help them, fly them into different tournaments, enable them to compete more, enable them to improve their game, so when they are on the world stage, playing the World Padel League and training with the world's best players, that they can hold their own. Hopefully, it will take time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But definitely we're more than willing to chat to any player, to assist them in getting brand sponsorships, to potentially sponsor them ourselves. And again, the racket and equipment manufacturers are there. We're happy to make any introductions, and we're also happy to sponsor players ourselves.
If I may add, Alan, I want to commit to you that you're not alone in that, right? Team Space Hashes would join that journey in terms of getting these players out there, and I think travel, accommodation, logistics should not be a problem for these budding players to get to the international arena. So I want to commit to you on behalf of my team that that's an area where we are going to really invest and not looking for any real outcome in profit outcome in the immediate future.